Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome again to another episode of Find Your Purpose. My name is Benjamín. Today's topic is going to be about parents, your college experience. I think this is a very important topic for me because, all the topics are very important for me, but this one's in particular, I would say it's important because my college experience or my education experience was definitely a unique one, but my parents had a lot to do with it for sure. If it wasn't for them, I would say I would not have taken the academic route that I took. Throughout growing up, my parents were always involved as much as they could. Along the way, there was always a language barrier, but they tried the best they could. They always had that, that motivation for me to continue to put education first as my, I would say, salvation in the community that I was raised in. But enough about me, though. Let's go ahead and introduce the first speaker that we got today. Her name is Lorena. Let me go ahead and invite her to join me. It says that for some reason, Lorena, I can't invite you to join. I don't know why. Maybe your internet connection's maybe not the strongest. Let me see if I can again. If I can't invite you, then I'm going to invite Luis. So if Lorena, if you can connect to your Wi-Fi, I don't know if you have Wi-Fi or not Wi-Fi, let me know because it says that I can't. It says unable to join. I don't know why. But all right, Luis, so I'm gonna have to invite you first, and then we'll troubleshoot with Lorena after that. So let's go ahead and invite you first. Let's see. ¿Dónde estás? Here you are. Invite sent. So Lorena, some reason I can't invite you to the live. If it doesn't work out after my conversation with Luis, then I don't know. We'll have to troubleshoot something where we can continue this at a Zoom meeting. No sé, ¿verdad? So, but waiting on Luis to connect. Hey, what's up? Can you hear
What's
me?
up? What's up? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can see you as well.
Nice. That's good. That's good. It's always good to see other people, right? Especially
Yeah,
during these times.
no Zoom. You know how it is with the Zoom. It's I don't know how many Zoom meetings you have with what you do, but it's a lot. It's a lot sometimes for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think it's reassuring. Well, not. Oh, it's cool to use a different type of outlet to like see other people virtually. So that's cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Benjamin, for allowing me to collaborate and share my experience. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting. I know that uh, I would say we go back, right? But we are definitely connected in many aspects of our college experience. And I thought it would be important to bring based on the work that you do and everything. I'm like, you know what? Maybe Luis has something to say about this particular topic. But yeah, can you introduce yourself? Where you're from? What do you do for work? What college did you attend?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my name is Luis Gonzalez. I use he, his, him pronouns. Um, I'm from San Jose, California. So shout out to all my folks from SJ. Yeah, so for me, my educational path is kind of at least for me, it's unique. Um, I went to community college first. I went to De Anza College, which is in Cupertino, California. I think like 20 minutes north of SJ. Um, so I did that for 3 years. Transferred over to University of Oregon first. Dropped out after the first week because I couldn't pay the out-of-state tuition. So I went back to community college, did a fourth semester there. Um, and during this time, I just had like just to figure out like, all right, what the heck am I gonna do? Am I just gonna be stuck here? Am I gonna drop out? But I had the support of, like you said, family. I had the support of my counselor, which I saw as like another mother to me, and yeah, it pushed me to apply to a lot of UC CSUs, and I ended up going to Davis back in 2014. Graduated in 2016, so did 2 years. Did my master's at University of San Francisco.
Maybe.
Um, Yeah, and at Davis I did. Oh, I forgot. At Davis I did sociology with emphasis on law. I wanted to go into law, but then realized like, hey, law's not for me. Like, didn't want to do corporate. Just did it for the money, which to me at that time was just kind of ideal. But I think I wanted to do more. I wanted to do more, like kind of you said, right? Find my purpose. And so I think it was until Davis, I did a student outreach job with what is called EAOP, Early Academic Outreach Program, where I was working with high school youth at like marginalized, underrepresented areas in Sac, Dixon, Woodland. And so for me, I was like, I want to work with this population, but I want to work with them at the higher ed level. So that's where I'm at now. Why I went to USF to their higher education student affairs program, and yeah, now I'm working at UC Berkeley as a college advisor for the College of Letters and Science. But before that, I did nonprofit work, working with marginalized folks as well. And yeah, like I'm digging my new job. Well, it's about to be a year in December, but I still feel new, still feel like adapting to this whole new like Zoom remote learning environment. But yeah, it's been a great experience so far. Yeah.
Well, thank you for definitely introducing yourself. I didn't know that you went first off to community college, second of all to Oregon, and that all that trajectory. That's intense, man. That's intense. But hey, it's I would say it provides a good experience to hopefully bring to your students, because maybe some of them might find themselves at a community college in the future. I know you right now work with Berkeley students, but maybe that also the topic comes up. Like I work with students at 4 years, and they ask me about community college. Like maybe they don't like the campus that they're at, etc. But in all your pathway and your experience in all those routes that you took, how would you say your college experience was it challenging at times? Did you feel like you were alone? Was there like a I was saying earlier, like for me, my parents always supported me. That was always the thing. I will support you. You don't have to work if you don't need if you don't have to. Like you can just focus on school. But there was always like a mystery, like an unknown factor. My parents, I was the first one for my parents to go to college, and yeah, man, like a lot of things I had to find out for myself. How would you say your experience was in all these college in all these college trajectories that you took in regards to like your parents' support? Did you feel like they were there to support you? Did you feel like you were alone because they simply maybe didn't understand what you were going through?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I think my parents for sure like helped me out a lot. Off tops, they just helped me out a lot, like financially, and I think for me, I wasn't really open to like helping them out emotionally. And I'll get to that like in a sec. But yeah, with community college, like, obviously like during my first I think 2 years at community college, like I didn't work at all. One because my mom was just afraid like I would just get into money and from there just kind of drop out and just see like, hey, I'm good with the money I have. I'll live at home, etc. Right? So she was afraid, but then after that, just financial like issues came about, and for me, I was just like, all right, I have to work. And so during that time, like with education, right, like the academic part of it, my parents weren't able to help, right? Like they came from like Jalisco, Zacatecas, Mexico, and they only got like a third grade education. Like my parents had to work the whole time, right? And so coming over here, they just did their part, like taking me to school, right, through elementary, middle, and high school. But once it came to community college, it's kind of like, hey, Luis, do you know what you're doing? Like, you sure? Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, that's fine, right? And so for me, the whole time, I just kind of had to figure things out, like on my own. My mom would ask, like here and there, like what to do. Like she's a house cleaner, so she works with a lot of like well off like folk that she cleans houses for, and sometimes they would help her like kind of like, oh yeah, you could do this, you could do that, your son can do this. So yeah, so she kind of helped me into the idea of like, all right, what jobs I can go into. And I think when I started, I did physical therapy, wanted to go into physical therapy, but I was like, the science and the chemistry, the STEM major classes, it just wasn't for me. I wasn't feeling it. So yeah, so I ended up going to like psychology because I wanted to help out like youth. I wanted to help out people like family, marriage therapy, and all that. But yeah, throughout the whole time in community college, yeah, they just supported me, yeah, financially. And then when going to like going to Oregon. They also like refinanced their house, and that's a privilege I had
Wow.
growing up, right? They had a house,
Yeah.
and so they refinanced, and they're like, hey, we'll put you in. You could pay us back whenever. But then once I decided to drop out and went to Davis, they still helped me out financially. Um, and on top of that, like they try to get us involved or like at least help me cook, wash clothes, especially when I was studying late nights or working, like late nights as well. So those little things, like I feel people don't really see the value of it, but it meant so much to me just because they're like, hey, like we'll help you. You could just focus on your studying, focus on your books, focus on working or relaxing. Like I got you for right now. And so um throughout my time, yeah, they kind of like helped me out in that way. But going towards more of like my time transferring, like I am the firstborn in my family, the only male in my house in a Latino Latinx household. Like I'm the king, I'm babied, and for me, like yeah, I kind of like that. But for me, I knew like part of the thing that they could help me as well is like, hey, help me grow up. Like I don't want to be babied like my whole life, so like please help me out. At least teach me some essential skills so I won't struggle. Like how to do laundry, cooking basic food, like how to get the best like deals on groceries, like just like navigate all that. So once I go to like Davis, like I'm not like struggling and they help me out. They help me out like, oh yeah, like how to not get scammed, like say like, buying new tires and stuff like that, right? So that's the way that they help me out, and that stuff like again goes unnoticed. And I think for me, like just eased up my stress, which meant like I could focus on my schoolwork. Um, but yeah, I think that's still the emotional key point. I think like for me, I did struggle a lot, and I wasn't vulnerable to my parents, and I think it's like a Latino thing where I'm like, all right, like I can't show weakness. Like I told them I would be okay going on my own, like moving away. I can't show any weakness. Like so, yeah. So, and that's something I still struggle with even now at my age of 28, where I'm still trying to like get close to my family, to my mom, to my dad. It's still difficult a little bit to like share that experience, but I think with my mom, I'm still trying to let her know, like, hey, I'm struggling with my job. I'm feeling fatigued. Um, this is what I'm going through. And, they try to help me out still, even now, like, oh, you should drink tea. You should do this. You should do that. And so, yeah, but yeah, I still wouldn't be here without my parents. And luckily, I had other support systems throughout my undergrad career that were like family as well that helped me out.
Thank you for sharing all that, Luis. Like, I think I could definitely connect with a lot of things you said. Well, most of the things that you said, well, if not all of them. There's a couple of things that you did mention. One, so based on what I heard, your parents were involved in your academic pathway, like in your higher education, even though it wasn't like, hey, like, how are you doing in school? Let me help you. Let me help you with like what you're navigating, everything you're experiencing. But in what they could, and culturally, I connect with that as well. That they were there to help you out with like, oh, you don't have to work. Or like when I was also in community college, my parents would like try to not make noise if I was doing, like if I was studying, or try not to bother me, or I didn't have to cook or all that stuff. And I think that's definitely like maybe when I was at that age, I was just like, oh yeah, whatever, leave me alone, I'm doing my thing. But then now as an older person, I definitely, like you, I really connect with all that and appreciate everything they did. And honestly, like I've said in previous episodes, as Latinx folks, once we have our degree, like the degree, I don't have it anywhere around here. And if I ever have an office in the future, in a job or whatever, I don't think I'll have the degrees in my back to show to students. They're in my parents' house, they're hanging over there. It's for them, and I feel like you might feel the same way. Like these degrees are for them. Yes, they're letting us live potentially, at least my parents, how I see it. They let us, they provide us the support to us to live potentially their dream that they might have had or that they had, but they didn't have the opportunity to do because of poverty, or the situation they were living, how they were raised in at least for my parents in Mexico, and coming here, like all these unfortunately things that they had to do that to help us um, have that luxury of an education in this country. So I definitely connect with that. I actually didn't think about that when I was thinking about this topic. My idea was like, oh yeah, like how connected were your parents in your college experience? Were they involved? Did they visit you? But I think we can just delete that. I think this was such much more powerful what you just said. And the next thing that you said, which I think is a huge, huge topic that we can definitely elaborate more on, is the cultural, the male. I don't know how to explain it, but like these, I don't know if it's traumas or the way that we were raised as males. You mentioned you're the oldest and the only male in your family, and as a person as well, who's, I would say I'm not the oldest. I have my older brother as well, but I do see how in Latinx families, being the oldest male or the only male has a lot of privileges in a family household, and I think it's not something I will say that I'm proud of. I think it's something that we as Latinx males need to change when it comes to that. So many things, right? Machismo, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that you did mention was not being able to communicate with your parents about how you were feeling, even maybe till today. I definitely connect a lot with that for sure. Going to college, it was hard to explain even to my parents if what I was going through because I didn't know what major I wanted. Right? They would ask me maybe like, "Oh, like, how's college?" or like, "What's your major? Are you gonna focus on? Are you gonna do business or engineering?" And I'll be like, "No, like I want to do Spanish." Why Spanish? One time my dad was like, in Spanish, like, why do you want to do Spanish? Like, I'm like, well, because I want to like maybe teach or work with students. And he's like, that's not how you make money, you know? So like all these
Mm-hmm.
pressures and like I couldn't really tell him how I felt just because how the way that I was raised, I was raised not to show emotion, and to just kind of like, you're a man, and men don't cry. So now as an older person, I still sometimes have a difficult to even explain how I feel. I think I have no problem showing emotion when I'm pissed off, but I think I really have a hard time explaining how I feel like when I'm sad or when something hurts me. And I think that in college, I definitely went through a lot of emotions that I unfortunately couldn't communicate that with my parents. And I think I was able to find a little bit of the solution on that when I joined, Sigma Delta Alpha, right? Shout out to Sigmas. I was challenged a lot there. I was pushed to control some of those emotions, but then again, it's not the same as being able to communicate with my parents. So it's something that I'm definitely working on as well. So I definitely connect a lot with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think the what you hit is everything is spot on. The whole money, like, hey, is sociology gonna get you money or education gonna get you money? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if I go different pathways, yeah, but I think for me, it's just more of like my purpose. And even then now, like being in this space, right, of working at Berkeley, I'm still trying to find my purpose. And I think for me, it's just a passion. Like it feeds my soul. Um, and I think that's definitely what a conversation I have with my mom and my dad. It's like, hey, it's passion. Like I'll figure it out. Like I just need y'all to support me and kind of have that trust in me still. Like that I'm gonna make it out. Like I'm not gonna take whatever y'all gave me, right? This privilege, opportunity, like in vain, right? Like I definitely want to like repay you back as best as I can, but also like want to uplift my community because I know that has a whole different like effect, right, with each one of us, especially during these uncertain times, right, and
Oh
especially
yeah.
with everything going on right now. So yeah, yeah, but the whole emotional component like of it is just I'm trying to better myself, and I think like a lot of the relationships I had, whether it's platonic, romantic, like I always try to like I vent to them. It's cool talking about what I'm going through. But a lot of them, like I know sometimes I was doing it like under like certain influences, right? Like, and I think like that's for me personally, that's unhealthy. And I learned like, hey, if I'm feeling this way, I should like be transparent and say it at this very moment. And so, yeah, I think it's just a work in progress and it's something like we're all learning because I'm a firm believer that we're still students, even outside the classroom. We're
Always.
still going to continue learning, and
Right.
it's just something I'm working on with like my family, and yeah. So, but I think it definitely does relieve some stress, and just helps me like navigate higher education even more. At least for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, just to close this, I know we're already in time. we're never going to reach 100% of like, oh, I learned everything there is to learn for my
Mhm.
field or whatever I want to do. Of course, no. Like the way that I experienced college a certain way, the students that I serve today, oh, it's a whole different ballgame. Like I didn't have to be virtually at home and like not go out and just do college at my room or in the living room. And like the way that like these students, this generation is living through different things versus what I was uh, experiencing. I know there's some components like culturally could be really related and here and there, but it's like it's more knowledge, so it's more things I have to prepare myself more, adjust and adapt and continue learning. So I agree with you. That's something that we're never gonna stop. Even whenever I'm an old dude, old dude, I'm still gonna get like I'm still
Yeah.
those students trying to learn, trying to be better each day. And just to close this up, like any advice you would provide to students and why is it important to maybe involve your parents in your college experience, whatever that might look like, or for parents themselves, like why would it be important for parents to be involved in any way they can in their students' college experience?
Yeah, so at least for me looking back, one thing I would love my parents to do is just like come visit, maybe show them around campus, maybe like kind of like maybe not like having them sit in a classroom, right? Because of the whole language barrier, right? In terms, but I think just having them understand like what I do on campus, right? Like part of like clubs, organizations, events, like because sometimes I feel like college, especially in the US, is portrayed as just like partying and stuff like that, which I mean, like it happens, right? But I think
There's
there's
a
a whole
few,
other
few.
aspect. Yeah. There's a whole other aspect of it. And I think for me, just doing like check-ins, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, not just in your academics, but like, how are you doing mentally, right? How are you doing? Is there anything I can do? Do you want me to go up there? Like, do you just want me to talk or just hear you out? I think all that stuff is very important. Um, and yeah, and I think just to get to that point, I mean, looking out for resources. I definitely am an advocate of like therapy as well, like just seeking out that unbiased, just kind of digging deep as to like, all right, like why are we like this, right? Like what can we do to like help out? But yeah, but I think those little things, they're not very little. They make, I mean, they're very little, but they make big impacts, right? Um, and to get to that, like you have to be willing to like seek discomfort and just be uncomfortable. And because I believe when you're in those uncomfortable positions, you can grow from them. Like yes, it's gonna hurt. Sometimes it's gonna be awkward, but you're gonna grow. And like you said, we're always gonna continue growing, even at age 100. So
Yeah, yeah. Venga, yeah. Okay, okay. Well, thank you so much, Luis. Thank you for supporting and coming and chatting with me. I'm sure there's many topics we can touch on, and we did touch on some of them, which I think it would be really cool for us to in the future collaborate and talk a little bit more. Very interested about the male Latinx male in the family
mhm.
old conversation. So yeah, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Benjamin. Thank you for the collaboration, man. Take care. Peace.
Take care. All right. So. Let's see, did Luis leave? I think it's the circle, so I'm going to go ahead and invite now. Thanks so much, Luis. I'm going to invite Lorena to join. Second attempt, Lorena. Let's see if this works. It says I could. Let me see. Welcome to 2020, ¿no? So excuse me, I've invited you. There you are. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, everything's good.
Nice, nice. I don't know. Sorry, I apologize for the previous attempt. I think you said you were logged in your laptop?
Yeah, I tried. I was trying to be all fancy with my laptop and it didn't work.
I never thought about that. Next time now when I invite folks, I'm gonna tell them, hey, don't try to join from your laptop.
Yeah.
Go through your phone or tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy
Hopefully we'll
Friday.
get some good news at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's been a long week for sure.
Yeah.
I've slept not that much, right? Because I have the TV on right now with
Yeah.
everything, the numbers, and I'm just like, I'm over it. Pero thank you so much again for joining and for supporting me with this project that I'm doing. And yeah, so like, can you tell me a little bit about you? Like, where you from? Where do you work? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so, well, I'm Lorena Sonorio. I am from Compostela, Nayarit, Mexico, representing my coritas here, my huicholitos. But I was raised in East San Jose since I was 1. So me trajeron, pero like fresh off my mom. Me trajeron para acá. So I grew up in East San Jose, and I went to, all the Allen Rock schools, James Lake, Comet, class of a long time ago. But I work for KIP, and I'm their advocacy and community engagement manager. And so I love my work. I've been working now almost about a year and a half, maybe a little bit over a year and a half, 0.65, I don't know. Pero I help schools increase parent engagement. I look for parent opportunities for learning and growth. So I'm out in the community building partnerships with other organizations, nonprofits, and just bringing good stuff and experiences for our families, specifically right now with civic engagement. So it's been amazing.
Yeah. I know we are collaborating pretty soon on a parent in a week and a half. So I'm excited to do that. So, and do you have any children? Are they in college?
Yes, I have 2 daughters. Isabel, she's 19, and she's at Sonoma State. And I have Sarita, Isabel is at Sonoma State majoring in kinesiology, and Sarita started her first year at San Diego State from the luxury of her room virtually. And she's studying criminal justice.
Nice. And I think you'd be a great addition to this video, because you can provide the parent perspective. Forgot to mention that. Luis provided perspective. I think you can provide a parent perspective. Okay. So virtual learning happening in your house. How would you say you were involved in your students, like K through 12 pathway, like in during that time? How involved do you feel like you were?
Yeah, as soon as I became a mom, like I had to be involved. Like I knew I did not have a very good experience growing up, in school and attending some of these schools. I had some traumas, and I know that with all the things that you learn along the way, like I maybe my trajectory would have been different. Maybe I would have been the CEO of KIP. I don't know, if I would have had the attention and the support that our kids need. And so I knew, like, as soon as I became a really young mom, I knew that I needed to really be involved in every way possible. And so in my work, I started working at Catholic Charities early on, and really focusing on literacy. And so I started learning about all these statistics. And so when I had my daughter, like, I knew I needed to have a certain amount of books in my house, so my daughter wouldn't be a statistic, and she needed to learn a certain amount of words before she entered kindergarten. And then my husband and I got involved really as much as we could. And if we couldn't attend, like my suegros, who have been a blessing, they attended meetings, they volunteered. I was like, órale suegra, quiere ir a volunteer at bingo? And she would go, and we get parent hours, and it was nice. We had a good a tag team, when we couldn't be there, my suegros were there. So that's important as a parent. You need a strong support system. To make sure your kids are somebody's always supporting your kid. And so we did the typical things, you go to all the meetings, you do the talent shows, you do the sports. And aside from all of that, all the parent conferences, but aside from that, we also got involved a lot in the community. So we were exposed them to different marches and social justice events. They danced folklorico for about 8 years. And they loved it. And for me, it's important for them to be proud of who they are and their roots, and just the exposure and the things that they learn when you're traveling, and and the history, right, of everything. And so there was a time where I had like 2 jobs, and I would be exhausted, and I would come home and check homework, and see how they're doing and catch up on things. So it's tough work, but like it was a priority for me, because I did not want them to go through what I did.
2 jobs, and then go home and be a mom.
Yeah.
That was a job as well, no? Like, that's what my mom would always do. Okay. And how, sounds like you were very involved and very intentional in your daughter exposure into community, to prepare those skills that Luis was talking about earlier, how he was saying about like knowing how to like go to the grocery store and actually buy things that are like not a ripoff or whatnot. And I think it's something very similar to what you're saying of like providing your daughters like knowledge, community knowledge, that they can take with them as they were growing up.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it has changed? How do you feel like things are in your daughters since they're in college? How involved do you feel like you are, or do you feel like you could be?
Mm-hmm. Well, when they started, when they went to, they got to high school, they had, like they had a really strong program at the high school. And so I would go to all the meetings, with, the senior class parent, the junior class parents, the senior class parent meetings. I went to the college advisor meetings, any meeting that there was, I was there. And, or my husband, we would tag team, right? Or sometimes we were there together. But we were there, and it was interesting. And then when they came down to the girls making decisions and things like that, they included me. So it was really nice to be a part of that with them, that they included me in the process. They explained things to me. I never did that. My husband did. He went to Loyola and then Santa Clara University. And so he had gone through that experience. So he had but it was all learning for me. And so I was like, okay, let me see what this is all about. Because even with the things that I knew already through my job and my experiences with other families and students, I still really didn't know about finances, and how are we going to pay for all of this? And then, filling out the FAFSA information, I had to, the girls and we all worked on it together. And it was really difficult to really jump through those hoops, and understand what they're really talking about. And then realizing that you don't qualify for nothing. And so how are we going to do this as a family, right? And so, do we really want to get a loan and pay all that interest? And so all those things were learning for me. And so I was lucky that the girls, I think my husband, because that is his experience and his strength, he really makes miracles happen and works with the girls and making sure that tuition's getting paid and all these other fees are getting paid. And then when it came to choosing universities, the girls were very clear what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go, and I tried so hard not to influence. My heart would want, as any parent, we want our kids not to go too far, but then at the same time, it's like, I want them to go out and experience things. And so I try really hard not to force them or instill doubt or, into
Pressure.
their decisions.
Yeah. Because even if you don't tell the student or your someone like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't go over there, you should go over there. But moms have that power to tell you, for example, like if my mom would tell me, hey, like, are you coming down for someone's birthday? I said this a couple episodes ago, and I'll be like, oh, I don't think so, because I have something going on. But just for her asking me in the way that she would ask me, already in my mind, I'm like, okay, she wants me to go, this, and like, I already had that pressure. So it's just like being able to like take that away. I'm sure like you probably had a hard time in like not trying to influence your daughter's decisions of where to attend college. But I do agree with you that, I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't know how that feels like, or if I ever get to that point, I'll know. I'll be like, yes, I understand the difficulty now, but I think it's important for students, for young folks to experience, not just being the protection of parents, no? Like at the how, whether we make mistakes or not, that's how we grow. We happen.
Yeah, and then you worry, and then the day comes where you have to go drop them off. With Isabel, we had that experience. We were so excited. Like in my family, she's the first to go to college, in my side of the family. And so it was like a really proud moment for me to see her go through that and to drop her off. I cried. I said goodbye like 3 times. And, I did the whole, persinar a million times. And then when I went through her dorm, persinar the dorm. So
all over.
I know. Imagínate if I had holy water, it would be crazy. But but I went through that experience, and it was amazing as a parent to be able to do that, you know, like, and you find this, it's important, you know, you value education, it's a sense of love and pride that you have for your child. And in a sense, it's like all your struggles are right there, right? So it was really a beautiful moment. With Sarita, I feel really bad for her because she didn't get that. You know, we just dropped her off in her room, and she's in her room doing her online classes. And so we'll see you next year, you know, if we get to go through that experience. But it's a really amazing moment. So like I highly encourage students not to take that away from their parents. Like, you know, if si se prestan, and it's an amazing gift. It's an amazing gift you can give your parents. Have them, you know, include them in the process, but also stand firm on your beliefs. Like if you want to go to San Diego State, go to San Diego State, you know, and make sure they understand why. Why is it important? And your dreams, and stand firm on your dreams. And that's what I wanted for my girls, and they did. You know, I didn't think Sarita was going to go so far away, even though it's only an 8-hour drive or a 1.5-hour flight. But you know, you gotta trust your kids.
I think your daughters have a great, what sounds like great parents, right? Like a very supportive in their decisions to college. But it's not always the case, no? Like it's not always the case, especially for Latinx women who they're first or there's the only ones that have attended college. But making a decision like that of, oh, I want to go to Berkeley, for example, and they are 3 hours away or whatnot, like the cultural clash. I think in another episode, someone did mention that like the parent didn't want them to go so far away, or like that's that struggle of like why this is important. Again, it's a cultural thing. It could be the fear and everything. I don't understand because I'm not a parent, but I do understand as a student, or as a previous student. So I'm happy to hear that you do have that relationship with your daughters. And what responsibilities do you feel like you have as a college parent? For your first started as a Sonoma, how was that first year? Did you feel like you would want to go see her every weekend? Did you provide space? Did she want to come every weekend to San Jose? Like, how was that experience, and how do you feel like involved you were in her first year?
You know, it was hard to let go, right? And I think, you know, I did my ugly cry when she was over there and she couldn't see me, because again, I didn't want to impact her or have her feel guilty, you know, or anything like that. If anything, it was like I was being as supportive as possible. So no estaba chillando, and I wasn't on the phone crying, telling her to come home or anything like that, or for me to go over there. And so I waited for her to reach out and text, you know. Si pasaban algunos días, I'll be like, hey, no te pases tampoco, you know, like, let me know you're alive and things. But she did amazing in communicating. She would communicate with me, or she would communicate with her dad. And then sometimes she'll be like, hey, what are you guys doing tomorrow? Do you guys want to come up? And then we would hang out, you know, go to lunch, dinner, movie, or whatever up there. So it was really nice. And Sonoma State is not that far. It's like 2.5 hours, right? Or si va bien recio, but don't drive fast. Yeah, so it was really nice. But, you know, like right now, like I can't see her grades. I can't do all the things that I was able to do when in high school, right? You don't have Power School on your phone to check ¿por qué no entregaste esto? You know, and things like that. So I trust her. I trust them a lot, and I trust the work that I did. We have those conversations. Things are hard, you know. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to try to say it's all rosy and amazing, right? But there's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of doubt that goes through your mind as a parent. But I trust them, you know, and they take care of that trust también. So so right now, I think the only responsibility that I have is just making sure that tuition and living expenses are getting paid at the universities. And I think that's the biggest one. It's just all financial, and trying to figure out how we're going to do this and that. And they constantly are looking for scholarships. Like that's their number one job right now, or the number two, right? The first one is school, and then finding resources to pay for things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Finances for sure is big. Like whenever when I meet with my students, we break it down to four categories. One is like their purpose. So like
Mm-hmm.
daughters or if the student knows why they're going to college, what their major is, and that they're not wasting their time, you know?
Yeah.
The the second one would be like academics, like you mentioned, like are they academically doing well? Like are they passing their classes? Are they
Mm-hmm.
stressed from academics? Do they not dislike a class? Do they have a midterm? Like all those supports, do they need tutoring? The third one would be financial, like you mentioned, like financially, are they do they have a large gap that parents have to take out loans, like all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff work. And then the fourth one, which I think is very important, especially in the parent topic, is the social emotional. Like
Mm-hmm.
touching upon, we were talking about earlier, being a student, a college student, and being away or virtual for your second daughter who unfortunately can't go to San Diego
Mm-hmm.
State. There's that social, excuse me, social emotional component of not feeling for maybe your second daughter. I don't know, like maybe she's like sometimes we go through things and we just don't communicate. No, like no, we don't tell.
Yeah.
Me in my experience, I didn't have that. We weren't raised like that. My parents are not those kind of people. Maybe they also were not raised like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to break that because I think it's very important to be able to communicate what we are
Yeah.
going and maybe like all the things that we're focused on with our students this year for our freshman students is how to what are because a lot of my students do tell me that the virtual sucks. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
the virtual classes, the Zoom. Even for us, like when we work every day, we always have all these Zoom meetings. Sometimes there are some that are necessary. Some I'm like, why are we here? And always glued to the laptop. And I could just imagine what our students are going through. Like I'm getting paid to do this, right? But our students, like for them to see, like, man, like when is this going to be over? So like, some of our students are definitely going through stuff. So I think as a parent, it's very important
Yeah.
to touch on that social emotional piece. Like, are they
Mm-hmm.
feeling depressed? Are they feeling not connected to their campus? Feel like this is too much for them. I'm not saying that you don't do that. I'm just saying like it's a sort of
Yeah.
big one as well. And yeah, you know, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, right now I think now that I have Isabel is in her little world in her room and Sarita's in her room, and then I'm working full time at home too. So our internet's crazy. Pero maybe that's why I
Fun,
couldn't log on.
like it's fun.
Yeah, but right now it's like I see how hard they work. They're in class throughout the day, and if they're not in class, they're studying, they're looking up stuff, they're doing their thing, and I worry about them eating. Ya comieron, and it's a luxury of them being home right now. It's like, okay, there's food, everything's here, and so
Yeah.
I know but they're taking care of business. They're doing their thing, and again, like it's for me right now, it's just finances, and then also making sure that they're taking care of themselves or the self-care.
Okay.
And I totally get the whole thing about not wanting to ask for help, and it's like, okay, as a mom, like I try to remember, my years of being young, and when I was in school, um, and it's like, you don't want to ask for help. I'm the oldest and the only woman, the girl in my family. And so a lot of responsibility comes with that. And you don't want to show weakness because then they're going to be like, ya ves, porque es mujer, no puede esto, And so like for them, it's like, I listen without trying to be judgmental and remove my mom hat sometimes, and then put it back on when I need to. But yeah, I'm really blessed. Like we worked so hard to get to this point, and it's like, okay, now let's do this together. I have an amazing partner, in their dad, and it's just a tag team.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge because you're a mom, their daughters, their students, you're a worker. There's so many identities that we
Yeah,
have, but we're people, no? That's behind
yeah,
all that. We're people, and even you go through stuff. You're also stressed, and they might be stressed. It's like it's
yeah,
important for all of us to, which is not easy. Like I said, it's not easy to just sit there and be like, well, let me show weakness, no? Because like when we show, like we open up, like, oh,
yeah,
that's weakness. And trust me, like I know that I go through that a lot. I doubt myself about like things like these of like, oh, if I show the weakness, what am I like, what is that, how does that look on me, etc. But I think it's very important, like the mental health, being able to say how we feel and take care of ourselves when we need to.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know we're getting time. I know it's It's Friday, so thank you so much for joining. Any last like advice for parents or even students of how like involving your parents or parents for involvement in their student college pathway? Any advice you would want to provide?
For parents, I would just say, to trust your babies as much as you can. I say babies because they're always going to be our babies, but our young adults, trust your young adults as much as you can. And if you don't have a strong relationship, because of whatever reason, like start today, and make quality time. Quality versus quantity sometimes is more important. And then just start from scratch, and just start listening, start being part of it. Don't be judgmental, and don't try to fix everything. Sometimes they don't want us to fix everything. They just want us to listen, and trust. I think trust is the biggest one. And consistency. Be consistent in what you say you're going to do, and just do it, and for kids, for the youth of today, don't be afraid to talk to your parents, and they struggled a lot to get you to where you're at today. And just, keep that door open, because the world is literally yours, but it's also your parents. And so just bring them along for the ride, and include them in the process. And they're not as mean. They're not as they'll understand. Don't be afraid. Like, they'll understand. And if anything, it's more it's really special.
Thank you so much. I completely and yeah, we'll leave it at that. I'm like, let me say something else on that, but we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Lorena, and being part of this, and like sharing your experience and your experience with your daughters and as a mom. And yeah, thank you so much, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okie dokie. So we're pretty much wrapping up this video. This was a little longer. I think these videos are slowly getting longer and longer and longer. I don't know. I mean, we just sometimes have to go with the flow now. So that's Friday. I have to head out as well. I'm not going anywhere, but just got to do what I got to do. And thank you so much again for Luis and for Lorena, and providing their insight, their experience, and yeah. So everyone stay safe